All right, you already know why I'm here, because apparently the Frieren fanbase has decided that every fight in the entire anime is peak, iconic, revolutionary, masterpiece level, industry-changing. And honestly, after hearing this for months, I've finally reached my limit. So sit down, tighten your elven bootstraps, and try not to cry, because we're about to talk about the truth. Frieren has zero iconic fights outside a couple scenes. Yes, I said it. And if your immediate reaction is, no, you're wrong, every fight is legendary, then congratulations, you're exactly the person this video was made for. Because some of you Frieren fans talk about the fights like every single frame was hand-drawn by the combined ghosts of Michelangelo, Picasso, and the animator who did Gojo vs. Toji. Relax, let's be honest for a second. Like, brutally honest. Like, you're gonna be angry, but deep down, you know I'm right honest. Frieren has maybe two iconic fights. Two. A couple, if I'm being generous. Everything else? It's nice, it's clean, it's decent, but iconic, legendary, greatest of the decade. Bro, be serious. You know how delusional you have to be to call every Frieren fight iconic. Imagine eating the same bowl of ramen every day for 2 years and suddenly deciding it's Michelin star cuisine. That's Frieren fans and the fight scenes. Let's talk about what the community calls iconic. I swear, Frieren fans will hype up anything. Frieren throws a spell? OMG, it's so elegant! Frieren flicks her wrist. The subtlety! The artistry! Frieren closes her eyes for 0.3 seconds. That's symbolism of her internal conflict! Bro, she blinked. That's it. The fight scenes in Frieren are literally gentle magic sparkles mixed with good lighting. It looks like the animators sprinkled fairy dust on top of minimal movement, and you'll treat it like Gojo entering the domain of God. Let me make this very clear. Just because something is pretty doesn't make it iconic. Ice cream is pretty, fireworks are pretty, a clean pair of shoes is pretty. None of them are iconic anime fights, but Frieren fans, you will watch a sparkly blue spell circle float across the screen and your entire nervous system collapses from joy. You know what an actually iconic fight looks like? Gojo versus Toji Levi versus Beast Titan Mob versus Koyama, Ichigo versus Ulquiorra, Luffy versus Lucci, Naruto versus Sasuke, Final Valley Guts versus 100 Manslayer, Yuji/Todo versus Hanami fights where you remember the choreography, the build-up, the character stakes, the animation, the impact. Now compare that to Frieren. What do Frieren fights have? Sparkly lights plus elegant posture plus 3 seconds of movement plus quiet music. That's not iconic. That's a fancy PowerPoint presentation. Let's address the "but it's not about the fights" crowd. Here they come, scurrying in the comments like NPCs triggered by a proximity sensor. It's not about the fights. The story is emotional. It's a character-driven narrative. The fights aren't meant to be flashy. Cool, great, I agree. Then why do you all spam Twitter every day with "this is anime of the year"? Fights of the decade! Mappa could never. Ufotable shaking! If the fights aren't the focus, why are you all pretending they're the best thing ever animated? Because deep down you just want Frieren to be the best at everything, even when it's not. Even when it's extremely painfully obvious that the fight scenes are the weakest part of the entire show. Frieren fans have this weird obsession with overhyping every frame, like they're in a cult where any criticism is forbidden. The Frieren is perfect cult needs to take a deep breath, touch some grass, and maybe re-watch the fight scenes with your eyes open. Let's break it down. There are only 2 Frieren fights people actually remember. Frieren versus Aura Fern versus Blue Mage Girl. That's it. That's the whole catalogue. Everything else is side quests with sparkles. And don't get me wrong, those 2 scenes are good, very good, beautifully animated. But if you remove the dramatic music and the emotional weight, they're still not competing with the big leagues. They're just really solid scenes. But That's the thing. Frieren fans don't know the difference between solid and iconic. Solid is eating a good burger. Iconic is eating a burger that changes your entire personality. Frieren fights, good burgers, not life-changing. And here's the part that'll really make you all mad. Frieren fights aren't iconic because they're short, they're slow, they're quiet, there's no physical choreography. The attacks are abstract magic spells, characters stand still 80% of the battle. The animation carries the scene more than the direction. The emotional weight is based on sad memories, not rival confrontation. That's not me hating, that's literally the structure of the show. Frieren isn't trying to be JJK or Demon Slayer. It isn't built for dynamic combat. It's a calm, reflective story about time. But Frieren fans refuse to accept that. They want Frieren to have the best story, emotions, characters, pacing, animation, comedy, and now fights. Bro, you can't have everything. Pick a struggle. Here's what makes a fight iconic. Memorability, people can describe it years later. Impact, it changed the story or fandom. Stakes. Characters had something to lose. Choreography, movement, counters, adaptation, direction, cinematic tension, plus payoff. Now let's see how Frieren ranks. Memorability, only 2 big fights. Impact, minimal stakes. If we lose, we die, but with no intensity. Choreography, mostly still shots. Direction, pretty but simple. Tell me I'm lying. I'll wait. The reality, fans will deny this. Frieren fights feel more like magical flex demonstrations than battles. Like, here's a spell. Oh, cool, here's my spell. Here's a bigger spell. Damn, that spell was cool. It's basically wizard fashion school with emotional flashbacks. But boy oh boy, show mind. Frieren fans will still go to war defending it. The Frieren fandom is like, this spell animation is better than anything Ufotable has ever done. Bro, what? Are you okay? Do you need water? Blink twice if you're dehydrated. Ufotable animates literal demon gods slicing continents in half, and you think Frieren shooting blue glitter is competition? Stop. This is embarrassing. Let's talk about the choreography. Actually, never mind. There is no choreography. There's no hand-to-hand dodging counters strategies. Physicality, spatial awareness, dynamic camera movement. It's literally stand still and cast spell. Congrats. We have turned Final Fantasy menu battle animations into anime fights. And you'll have the audacity, us, to call these iconic? Bro, name one Frieren fight pose that became a meme or cosplay trend. You can't, because there isn't one. Meanwhile, Gojo's purple hand pose, Tanjiro's Hinokami dance, Levi's spin attack, Goku's Kamehameha stance, Ichigo's Getsuga Tensho mobs, glare, all iconic, all recognizable, all culturally impactful. Frieren raising her hand like she's trying to get the waiter's attention. Man, please. The real reason Frieren fans overhype the fights, I'll tell you the truth, nobody else will say. Frieren fans are desperate for the show to look complete, so they pretend every aspect is peak. They want to believe the show is flawless, untouchable, beyond criticism. Above regular anime, so they praise the pacing even when it's slow, the silence even when it's empty, the fights even when they're mid the animations, even when it's simple, the story even when nothing happens, the characters even when they're barely expressive. Frieren fans refuse to admit anything is less than perfect. It's like a cult of emotional denial. Now here's the funniest part. Some of you don't even like the fights, you just don't want to admit it. I know the signs. Some of you be watching a Frieren fight like, that was nice. But out loud you're like, iconic! Peak animation! You're lying to yourselves and each other. That's why you're angry at this video right now. Not because I'm wrong, but because I'm right and you hate it. Let's compare Frieren fights to actual magic battles. Compare Frieren magic fights to Fate/Stay Night Heaven's Feel, Fate/Zero Black Clover Captains, Madoka Magica Witch Battles, Fairy Tail. Yes, even Fairy Tail. Full Metal Alchemist Magi, Zero, Monogatari, Oddity Battles, Hell. Even Little Witch Academia has more iconic moments. Frieren fights feel like a minimalist art exhibit. Nice to look at. not iconic. So let's state the facts. Frieren is a phenomenal anime, but the fights are not the reason. They are serviceable, pretty calm, stylistic, atmospheric, clean, sometimes emotional, but they are not iconic, unforgettable, intense, revolutionary peak choreography, fight of the year material, except for two. And even those two aren't touching the top 20 fights of the decade. Deal with it. Now go ahead, fanbase. Do your thing, leave essays, defend your sparkly spell circles, write dissertations on why the stillness is intentional. Tell me I don't get it. Tell me I missed the deeper meaning. Tell me Frieren invented magic. Tell me I hate good animation.